right, I'm sick and tired of James Harden not getting the respect and mentions that he rightfully deserves. Harden was him. People are constantly throwing dirt on his name, and my God, it is unfair. Well, maybe a little bit of it is fair, but we need to do right by this man. I'm gonna remind you that James Harden, in his prime, was an apex predator. I'm gonna show you how he was one of, if not the best offensive player in the history of the NBA. You know what time it is? You saw the title. You know why you came here. It's Hoops for Breakfast time. So the other day, I woke up, grabbed my phone, and headed straight to the Ballers chat. You know, like all of us do every morning. The homies were chatting about the beard. Some weren't so convinced about his resume. Here, let me read you one of the ludicrous messages that one of them sent. James Harden is a great at-will scorer, but he can never measure up to an all-time great because he doesn't play any defense and he hardly ever shows up in the playoffs. Oh boy, this one cut me, man. Straight to the core. I was about to light this man up in the group chat, but I wanted to make a video instead. So I know people are quick to dismiss who James Harden is because of his off-season work ethic and forcing himself out of teams, but I don't think that changes the fact that when he is locked in, no one can stop him. In his prime, James Harden was prime time. For a while, he single-handedly kept the Houston Rockets relevant. If you got amnesia and forgot, or you're just too young to know, go look up the beard, man. When the beard was the beard, he could bend defenses at will, however he wanted. There are so few guys in the game who could get to the rim and draw fouls as tactically and as frequently as he could. You had to pick your poison with Harden, because if you tried to stop the downhill rim drive, you got caught in that deadly step back three, just waiting to get sniped. The beard literally forced the NBA to reconsider how they were going to officiate games. But before we get into that, we gotta talk about the step back, because Harden didn't invent the step back three, but he perfected it. He's a true student of the game, and what he learned about the rules, he used to push them to their limit. The guy figured out that he could use his gather step to create separation and then still have his two steps to get even further away from the defender. And oh my God, did he take it and run. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it must be a duck, right? Well, not exactly. The Harden step back may look and feel like a travel, but it's clean. At least most of the time anyways. He got even more creative and added a twist to the step back. He started going not just backwards, but sideways. The first couple of times we saw him do this move, our minds were blown. All he did was step sideways, but it was so magical. It was like dude invented fire all over again. And nowadays, most dudes have both the Harden step back and sidestep in their bags. A lost art. But the step back was not the only influence the beard had on the NBA and basketball, because the three-point shot has cemented its place in the game as the most important shot that a team needs to win championships. Most of the credit that goes around for the emergence of the three lands at Steph Curry's feet, but a lot of it should be forwarded to Harden and Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey realized that if his team could hit around 33% of its threes, it would be on par with hitting around 50% of twos. Since the league average of three-point makes was 35%, he believed if his team could be there 35% or a bit above, he had found the winning formula. He didn't, but you know, he believed he did. So he encouraged his Rockets to take as many threes as possible. Every team in the NBA tried to increase their three-point attempts significantly as a result. Harden had a huge role to play in NBA teams basically doubling the amount of threes they took before his emergence as a star. I have a question. Do you think about James Harden when you think about wizardry around the rim? Some of us do, but most people think about Uncle Drew, Luka, and even Iverson. But why is it that we tend to forget that the beard lived by threes and frees? The beard created more contact than double-sided tape. This guy could draw fouls around the rim better than Leonardo da Vinci could draw a circle around the Vitruvian Man. The NBA literally had to adjust the rules on how they were going to call fouls in order to slow down his scoring. But the question was Harden cheating the game? Did the way he baited and tricked defenders into committing fouls deserve to be looked at as a bad thing and penalized? Or was he just ahead of his time where that aspect of the game is concerned? What James Harden started removes like the swipe through or the bait and bump. For the swipe through, he would wait for defenders to raise their arm so that he could get his hand under theirs while gathering the ball. He would then swipe up in a shooting motion, whistle. He also showed the ball on the gather and waited for defenders to swipe for it. After the defender reached for the steal, the beard would extend and swipe up through the contact. All of these were automatic fouls, a lot of which were and ones. For the bait and bump, players in the NBA were getting injured way too often from landing on defenders' feet after a closeout. The organization started to focus on penalizing defenders who closed out on shooters without allowing for enough landing space. Spurs fans, I'm sorry for bringing back this painful memory.
And he's in pain again in front of the Spurs bench.
Anyways, James Harden figured out that many of the guys in the NBA didn't know how to adjust these contests to not get a call. Being the genius of the game he was, he devised a plan on how to get that foul call on undisciplined defenders who were closing out too close. He either exaggerated his shot form to initiate contact or jumped into the airborne defender. Referees had no choice but to give him the calls. He quickly became the free throw merchant. Dude led the league in free throw attempts for 7 of the 8 years between 2012 to 2020. This practice of baiting defenders into committing what are considered fouls by the freedom of movement quickly caught on to other ball handlers like Luka, Ice Trae, and others. This is really a twofold change that James Harden inspired. In addition to changing how players drew fouls, he also forced the NBA to adjust the rules. The NBA decided that players who used what it termed as non-basketball moves should not be allowed to shoot free throws. These are plays like leaning in or jumping into defenders at an unnatural angle to create contact. Was the league too quick to change the rules? I think they were, but not for the reasons you may think. I somewhat agree with Harden. If you foul me, I should get the call regardless of why you fouled me. But on the other hand, I don't think it's a foul if I was the one to initiate the contact. Luckily for everyone, from the fans to the players, the fouls are called based on the ref's discretion, so some of the James Harden fouls are still called if the defenders initiate the contact after taking the bait. With all of these adjustments or improvements that the beard inspired in the NBA, I'm baffled as to how he still gets so little respect from fans. After all, he is the second best individual talent to have ever worn a Rockets jersey. Oh boy, that was it, wasn't it? Harden right behind Akeem, everyone else back at the bus. I'll see you in the comments.